Welcome to Good Screenwriting. I'm Trevor Meyer, and today we're going to talk about character growth over the course of a series. Character growth in sequels. I've read a lot of screenwriting books, and they do a good job setting up an original concept as far as what you're going to tell a story about, who you're going to tell a story about, where it takes place, all that, and how you have your character grow. But I have not found any screenwriting book so far that talks about developing characters in sequels. What happens after they've already changed? Can they change again? Do they just change back and forth? I was rewatching all of the Iron Man films again recently when I had this realization about character development, and I can't believe I never saw it before because it's really brilliant. So, here's a riddle for you. How do you have a character stay the same over the course of a series and yet still have them learn a lesson and change in each film? You give up? Well, so had I until fairly recently. I thought that the character would either have to change just a little bit each time or not at all. But when I was watching the Iron Man trilogy, Iron Man 1, 2, and 3, I noticed something. In the last 10 minutes of each film, he's pretty much the same guy. He's his true self. He's his highest self, his most open and honest self. He's connected to others. He's a superhero and he's proud of it. And as he's so fond of saying himself, he is Iron Man. But if you look at the first 10 minutes of each film, you see that he's three completely different people. Okay? Think back to the first Iron Man, and then the second Iron Man, the third Iron Man. In the first one, he's a selfish, irresponsible, disrespectful war profiteer. In Iron Man 2, he's an egotistical, overconfident, self congratulating superhero. And in the third one, Iron Man 3, he's a paranoid, panic stricken, obsessive inventor. Three completely different personas, three different facets of the same person: a selfish war profiteer, an egotistical superhero, and a paranoid inventor. But by the end of all three films, he's the same confident, charming, enlightened superhero. He's clear, he's bright, he's sunny. At the beginning of each film, he's cloudy, all right? The only thing that changes is the shape of the cloud. He's selfish, he's egotistical, he's paranoid, all right? These are three different problems, three different kinds of clouds, if you will. I call this one cloud theory, all right? He's got three different character flaws to overcome, three different lessons to learn, three different inner journeys to take. So that's the secret. The hero's end point, his highest self, the light that shines within him, never changes. It's like the sun. The sun never changes. The clouds in front of it do. You go outside and you say, is it cloudy or sunny? Well, that's kind of a weird way to put it because sunny never really changes. The sun's always there. It's just what kinds of clouds are in the way. All right? And that's the way I think about real life. That's the way I think about fiction, which is if there is an essence, your best version of yourself inside of you somewhere, all your potential, your ideal personality, that's in you somewhere, and that's like the sun. It never changes, it never goes away. Your problems, your flaws, your negative qualities are like clouds, and they change. Sometimes there's a lot of them, sometimes there's not very many, and they all, you know the game when you're a kid, you look up at the sky and say, oh, this cloud looks like something else. This cloud looks like an animal or something like that. So, this is just like that. And it's like, hey, look, that cloud looks like paranoia. That cloud looks like egotism. Is that a word? Egotistical? Egotism? I don't know. That cloud looks like selfishness. All right? But the sun, who Tony Stark really is at his best when he's being his most positive self, is always the same. All right? And I don't even want to reduce it to adjectives or words about what he is. He just is himself. It's his true self, his highest self, his most positive self. All right. So the what's on the inside, his highest self never changes. The only thing that changes is what stands in the way of it. Now, the same goes for Captain America for the first two Captain America movies, all right? And again, I'm ignoring the Avengers, ignoring the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe right now. If you just look at a trilogy of Captain America films, Captain America the First Avenger, The Winter Soldier, and Civil War. At the end of the first two movies, he's a bright, strong, determined superhero. That's his highest true self. And at the end of Civil War, I think he's also that. He's a bright, strong, determined superhero. He has hope. He's optimistic, even though the situation is not ideal around him. But he is his true self. Now, if you go back to the beginning of all three movies, at the beginning of the first Avenger, he's a weak, scrawny, sickly little guy from Brooklyn. At the beginning of The Winter Soldier, he's a doubtful, angry, isolated shield agent. Two different problems to overcome, two different journeys to take, but both lead to the same destination, Captain America, the bright, strong, determined superhero. The light that shines once all the clouds have parted, that guy never changes. The only thing that changes is his inner struggle. It's the cloud that stops him from shining. And that's true in real life. The sun never changes, but the clouds do. Sometimes they're big, sometimes they're small. They come in many shapes and sizes, but sooner or later, the sun always shines through. Now, if you look at Captain America in Civil War, however, I don't think he changes in that movie. Uh, he's the same guy at the beginning as he is at the end because I don't think he actually has any character flaws to overcome in that movie. At the beginning, he's still hopeful, he's still optimistic, he's still determined, and he'll do anything for what's right. Now, comparing that to the first two movies again, just pause the movie at the beginning of Captain America and pause it at the end, and you'll see the difference. All right, you'll physically see the difference. At the beginning of the first Captain America, he's like I said, he's a skinny little guy. He's sick. No one will respect him. Everyone picks on him. By the end, he's a leader. He and it's not just the physical part that changes. He has to actually adapt to being somebody that people can look up to because he's not used to that. In the second one, he's got a lot of problems with what's going on around him. And I'll explain in a second why that's different from Civil War. But in The Winter Soldier, he's kind of lost. He's trying to do things the way he did before, which is follow orders, go on missions, lead a team, but it's not working. All right? The future is too secretive, it's too covert, it's too cynical. And then once he figures out who his enemies really are, then all of a sudden he knows where he stands. He knows that he can't follow orders, that he's got to be the one beacon for everyone to aspire to, He's got to be the one who shows people the way things should be done. And that's totally different from where he is at the beginning. Now, Civil War is different because he's still that guy from the end of Winter Soldier. He's still the guy who sees a world of problems all around him, and he's not going to go along with it. All right? He is going to stand up for what's right no matter what, and he stays that way through the entire movie. Now, I always shy away from movies where the hero doesn't change, or writing things where the hero doesn't change, because it always strikes me as, well, what do I have them do? It's like, yes, they have goals to accomplish, they have outer goals, they have physical goals to accomplish, but if there's nothing in it for them to grow, then I'm like, what's the point of it? But given that Civil War is one of my favorite movies of all time, I found a solution to that and why it might affect certain writing decisions moving forward, which is you can have a hero stay the same. And if that's the point, if they're actually already in sync with who they're supposed to be, then they basically become a mentor character to all the other flawed people in the movie. All right. So when we say that a character has a mentor in a movie, that mentor usually doesn't have any character growth to go through because they're already there, they're already done. And that's why they have lessons to teach the hero. So, for example, in Titanic, which I talked about in How to Write a Screenplay as Good as Titanic, Rose is the hero and she's got problems internally and externally. Jack, the love interest, is also the mentor. He doesn't change at all. He's totally enlightened through the whole thing. He has a way of living and he doesn't need to learn anything because he's got it. He's got it figured out. He is living his true life. So it's his job in the story to teach Rose how to live a better life. And basically, every movie, you're either the teacher or you're the student. All right? Every character is either a teacher or a student. They either have something to learn and the other characters have to teach them that, or they don't have anything to learn because they are enlightened and they are their true selves and they are every positive quality that they are capable of embodying. And then it's on them to change everyone else around them. All right? So you see this in Captain America Civil War where uh, it's Scarlet Witch who has a problem with what happened at the beginning of the movie, where due to some collateral damage, some innocent people got killed. And it's Steve Rogers, Captain America, who sits down next to her and says, "Look, we try to save as many people as we can, but sometimes that doesn't mean everybody. And if we don't try, then nobody gets saved." So, if you go back to Iron Man, he has a character growth arc in the first movie, the second movie, and the third movie, and each one is completely unique. But again, he turns into the same guy in all three movies. But what he changes from is different. So, how do you apply this to your own writing? If you're writing a series, whether it's screenplays or novels, if you're writing a sequel to anything, you don't have to have the character change into somebody different in every movie. In fact, that would probably be a turnoff for some audiences. I mean, like, James Bond doesn't turn into a totally different person at the end of every James Bond movie because that's not James Bond. That's not why we come to the thing. So you run into problems when you get movies like Iron Man where it's like, well, he learned a lesson in the last one, but we still want him to be that guy. We still want him to be Iron Man. So how do we have him learn another lesson? You give him a new problem. You give him a new negative quality to overcome. So what I would encourage you to do moving forward is if you are writing a series or a sequel, have your character end up the same as they were in the last movie or the last book, but have them start off in a new place. Have them start out with new negative qualities, new problems. And adjectives are great for internal qualities. So it's not just that he's got problems around him or her. It's they're lost or depressed or paranoid, overconfident, egotistical, cold-hearted, emotionally unbalanced, any of those things. They've got a new problem at the beginning of the next story. And then they have to get past that over the course of the story. They have to part the clouds and go back to being that same sunny person that they were at the end of the first one. Not that they're always happy, but they're their ideal selves. They have all the positive qualities that we would wish to embody ourselves. So, All of that being said, this is just one theory of character development. Do you have any comments, any suggestions, questions? Put them down in the comments below. I'm looking forward to your feedback. This is Good Screenwriting. I'm Trevor Meyer. See you next time.